afternoon, good evening, middle of the night, whenever you are receiving this message, okay? Just going to pull a few cards today and check in on the energies as I'm done with my chores mostly for the day. So, just going to sit here and relax a little bit with the cards, see what's going on, a little chit chat. You know what I mean? If you're somebody who needs a professional chit chat, I really urge you to reach out to somebody in your community, either a counselor, a doctor that you trust, maybe a teacher, a church member, pastor, any of those sorts of folks that can, maybe chit chat with you for a few minutes and make you realize, hey, yeah, life can be kind of crazy sometimes, but we don't have to let it get to us, okay? Um, if you've never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, kind of that, kind of like that. Life moves pretty fast, but if you slow down sometimes, you can enjoy it. Why not? We are meant here for joy, right? As well as the work. And when they say, remember the Sabbath, keep it holy, that's part of it, right? It's about taking the time out to appreciate. Okay. Sorry, I'm like just noticed another little blemish in my chin area. So, if you're like me and grew up having acne, congratulations, you get to have it again in your 40s. El Diablo on the bottom of the deck. Yeah, that's what they like. Anyway, Three of Swords, Alien. I'm starting out with the Karmic Vibes deck here. Okay. Oh my gosh, they're showing these robots running around on TV. They look quite awkward. One's like a little baby robot. Oh my gosh, that one's actually kind of cute. Four of Pentacles. I'm going to be pulling regular tarot also here. But I wanted to get this karmic deck out because we know there's always some karmic energies bubbling beneath the surface like the little blemish forming on the side of my chin, even though I am past the midpoint. You know what I mean? So you think the tarot reader has it easy? No, we get things too, like little blemishes, and we have chores to do, and we have pets and children, or et cetera, to look after, right? Nobody's life is perfect, okay? And I think some people get into this, it used to be the magazines, right? The Picture Perfect magazine. Now it's, the Picture Perfect on social media, right? And just realize there's a lot of other things going on, okay? And I can get into some of the negative news headlines recently that we've seen. But hey, shh, calm down. Can you calm down, please? Hey, I'm doing a reading right now. Solo. I'm doing a reading. Hey, shh. Knock it off. Knock it off. Knock it off. Hey, knock it off. What was I saying about Picture Perfect? Oh, yeah. Okay. He's like, I'm going to bark when I want to bark. Yeah, I understand that. Oh my gosh. He's been driving me a little bonkers. But, I think he has spring fever a little bit. Okay, so the other cards, so far we have Three of Swords, Four of Pentacles, Knight of Wands, King of Swords, and the Chariot. So, at first glance, I just want to say that, maybe you've been kind of toyed around with a little bit by somebody in this Knight of Wands energy. And maybe for some of you, you're like, no, I'm looking for somebody more serious. Or maybe you are this masculine energy with the King of Swords where you're like, no, I'm not just fooling around with anybody and everybody. You know what I mean? I want somebody in here for the long haul with the Chariot card. Okay. somebody, to ride along with on the next big adventure. Um, because even though you can do it alone, doesn't mean you have to be lonely. No, stop it. Okay. Hey, what did I say? Don't make me go lock myself in the room away from you guys. Hey, what'd I say? What'd I say? Boy. Okay. Oh, this deck is a little. Oh, well, thank you for the compliment there. That photo is from last year sometime, I want to say. That might have actually have been on my birthday. Hey, just simmer down. I do too. Come on. Just relax. You guys are driving me crazy. It's like when I get online, it's just like being on the phone. They're just like, okay, so now we have this Three of Wands here on top of this Three of Swords. What did I say? You just simmer down. You're being a little loud right now. The Knight of Pentacles here that wanted to come out in reverse over this Four of Pentacles. Okay. The Two of Wands over the Knight of Wands. All right, let's get something good here. Oh, look at that. I wanted to fall out, but anyway, it's too many cards, so. If one falls out, that's one thing, but when a whole pile falls out. Ooh, Justice. On top of this King of Swords, so doubling on the Libra energy. So if anybody's been lying to you, like, too bad for them, because you're not having it. They could have wanted you to make some kind of decision here with the Two of Wands, like, and one of these things like, oh, well, if you're not going to go with me, I'll find somebody who will. And you're just like, fine, go. Was that a song? I Will Survive. Go on now, go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now. You're not welcome anymore. Okay. Somebody's wanting to put you in that position all the time. And it's like, that's not a happy energy. That's not a high vibrational energy. That's a low vibe. That's a fear mongering. It's like, oh, what? You don't think I can get better than you? Do, 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 do. You know what I mean? Somebody there mentioning Greece in the chat, and obviously before Danny Zuko got with what's her shoes, Sandra D or whatever her name is in the movie. He kind of had a little thing with Rizzo. You can kind of tell there's the tension there. And when Danny shows up in the movie, he's that kind of guy that's like, oh yeah, I can get any chick I want. Right? And then he kind of actually falls for one, right? Sandy, that he met over the summer, and then he's like, oh, then he has to choose. Well, some people, they will put that on you, right? And he kind of does that in the movie. He's like, oh, well, Sandy, how I am. Don't make me laugh. And she's like, why are you acting so strangely, So she's like, look, but then, her girlfriends kind of help her, fox it up a little bit, right? Ace of Swords, again, wanting to come out in reverse. So somebody maybe not wanting you to see the truth of the situation, but you've already seen it. Like, it's too late. There's that Carole King song, It's Too Late. So again, you have the Three of Wands on top of the Three of Swords, where you're like, I'm not staying at this heartbreak hotel. I'm checking out. you know? I paid my fee, somebody else gets to clean up now. You know what I mean? It's like that energy where, well, what are, I've seen the how some people want to charge on Airbnbs and they're like, we'll charge you for this, we'll charge you for that, we'll charge you for this, we'll charge you. It's like, can you just give me a total? Right. And, and some of them were even like requiring the guests to take out this garbage and that garbage, you know what I mean? And it's like, that would be like a nice courtesy, but I don't, do you do that at a hotel? Like, so I feel like collective, you're just kind of like, okay, that's great. You had your little rules here, but I'm moving on with the rest of society, And so for some of you, it's yeah, keep on down the road. All right. Um, then here with the Four of Pentacles, you had the Knight of Pentacles wanting to come out in reverse. So somebody who was saying, "Oh yeah, I'll plant this seed with you. I'll do this with you, blah blah," and then they turn out to not have a dime in their pocket, type thing, and leaving you reaching here with your Four of Pentacles, which it's not much, but it's better than three. It's better than two. It's better than one, right? Like it could be one of those things where someone's like, oh, well, they have potential, but like my connections, I'll be meeting Buffy from Ha Ha, and we're gonna go and on our ski trip vacation here. Nothing against skiing, but it's an expensive hobby. But you know what I mean. It's that kind of thing where somebody just decided they were too friggin' hoity-toity, but they came out in reverse. And then when you're moving on, they're the ones who are like, oh well, hey, there's a lot of chicks that would love to be with me. Oh really? Where are they at? And if that's the case, why are you barking up my tree, sir or ma'am? You know what I mean? And who knows? It could be a feminine and a masculine energy coming towards you as well. You never know where you're gonna get it these days, right? Um, and some people, they just have that impression that they want to make, that they are better in some way. And it's like, however they're going about it, you see that it's um, just kind of smoke and mirrors to try and cover their insecurities, their own ineptitude, their failure to stand up maybe to their family and society about what is accepted versus what's not accepted. Okay. Because some people, they're like, yeah, I don't want my prom date to be able to read as long as she looks good or he looks good. You know what I mean? They're that kind. Well, I would prefer that my prom date knows how to read. So if we see the sign that says turn here, we're supposed to actually turn here and not go down the wrong way. You know what I mean? I believe one of my prom dates wore glasses. I mean, I wore contacts at the time, like who am I? And it's this kind of thing too, where some of it's like, or even these people that go out and get this plastic surgery and they're like, oh, don't I look good? I look so good. La la la. These other people don't even look as good as me. And it's like, you're held together by what, honey? For some of these people, they don't even understand the concept of looking good on the inside. And that's part of this justice that you're getting with the King of Swords here. I split the deck on the Nine of Pentacles too. So you're feeling very satisfied, I feel like. And it's one of those things where I think you're going to run into the right person at the right time here with the King of Swords. Okay. And there's somebody who definitely doesn't want you to see this, but you're a smart cookie collective and you're going to figure it out. That Ace of Swords, they're like, they'll never know what to do with this. Like, really? Did you just fall off the stupid truck? Some of these people, they think everyone else was born yesterday and they're just so smart. And it's like, dude, you're 50 years old and you don't even have a driver's license. Like, what's smart about that? Um, you know, And I was just thinking about something that happened recently, but I'm sure there's more that happened to the story, so I'm not even going to really repeat the news story. But it was kind of dumb how someone got arrested for. It said they were arrested for DUI, but they weren't even driving the car. So it's like, how could they? You know, it said they were passed out in their car. Like, It's like, okay, well, if they weren't going anywhere, then what's the big deal? Anyway, um, who's to say that person wasn't poisoned or something, or, somebody slipped him a Mickey, sometimes the best thing to do is to leave the situation. And it sounds like that's what that person was doing. They were leaving the situation, going to a safe zone, sitting in a parking lot, and then somebody wanted to come and arrest them and did. And it's like, wow, okay, that's our society these days, right? Where it's like that truth coming out in reverse. It's like, is that really, like what we should be doing here? Or, anyway. So, and I was reading the story. The guy's lawyer is like pretty sure that the charges will be dropped. But just the fact that they even went through the whole process, what do they call that? A humiliation ritual? Oh, well, we're gonna handcuff this guy and put his picture in the paper and try and paint him as this blah blah blah. And it's like, well, maybe he didn't want to be at your hoity-toity event and said, I need to get the F out of here. And sometimes you got to watch out for that stuff, because some of these people that are in these circles, because of their status, it's almost like the burden of proof is on the other side. Whereas, anybody else, it's like, oh, you're going to jail. You're the bad guy automatically. But with them, it's like this double standard that, oh, no, they could never do that or this. And it's like, oh, yeah, you want to make a bet? Because there's some other people on the other side that have seen some things. You know what I mean? So, when people get caught up with these lies and stuff, it's like, yeah, exactly. This Ace of Swords that came right out. It's like you wanted it to be this way. You wanted the truth to be this way, right? What was that movie, A Sword in the Stone? Oh, nobody could ever pull that sword out of there except the one with the pure heart, except the one with the pure intentions, except the one that's going to use it for the benefit of people, not for personal gain. I don't think you have to be a believer in regular old church, to understand that parable. Some people be like, oh, you don't go to church, you're godless. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I've heard these stories before, and I was raised in the church. So just because I don't go to your church doesn't mean I'm godless. Maybe you're godless for calling other people godless, you freaking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, who are these freaking people? Oh my God. You know? And I was thinking about this earlier. I don't know why it was so random, because I was on this church trip one time in college. And, it was supposed to be a non-denominational group. Anyway, I had brought with me a little book, like one of those mini books, and it had fairy tales in it. And I was just sitting there reading aloud to a few people, and there were people that came by and giving me the nastiest look because, I wasn't reading scripture. I wasn't reading only what was written in the Bible. I was, I'm like, it's like we're all adults in this world. So, if you want to call a fairy tale parable, um, like something at the hands of yeah, maybe it's to teach us a lesson about what people are capable of. And just in the Bible, in the Old Testament especially, is filled with all of that stuff, right? And then we know how they treated the Christ when he returned. There were some people that welcomed him with open arms, but we know eventually what happened. Okay, so, some of these people, they just need to take several seats for their own good before they trip and hurt themselves on their own freaking words and actions. Do you know what I mean? Because they'll be like, oh, well, if it's not this, then it's demonic. Oh, if it's not this, then it's demonic. Okay, then why should I come out and support whatever you're doing at this bar? Why should I come out and support whatever you're doing at this restaurant? What if, am Am I going to be cloaked in holy water upon walking in? You know what I mean? Like, how freaking, that's why we have those places of worship for that, and it's limited to like an hour. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, yeah, there's some people that really wanted you to feel like down on your luck with this Five of Pentacles here when I just split the deck. So, the thing is, you've already, came from a Four of Pentacles where you're reaching for that next goal. And, somebody who you thought was going to be on your side was like, not really, and you're like, okay, well, I just got to bounce back, and you did. Right. And now here they are trying to put pressure on you and being like, hey, well, if you're not going to take it, this sorry sack over here is, well, yeah, I know she'll take it because she is a sorry sack. You know what I mean? Some people can't live without that other person's validation, whereas you already had to figure out how to live without it, right? So you're over it. Yeah, you got a strength card here again, wanting to come out in reverse, but I don't feel that for the collective here. I don't feel like you're giving this down on your luck energy at all. Yeah, so the truth is definitely out. King of Swords, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. You could be disconnecting from a certain group, coworkers even. I've had that where, and even within the same company, like one group of people that I worked with, we went out to happy hour all the time and or played softball together, and it was a very kind of, I'm sure there were little dramas that happened. And before I even started this reading, what I was kept hearing was like, quit embarrassing yourself. And this one guy, he would say that to these people all the time because sometimes they would get too drunk at these happy hours or start saying some dumb stuff. And he would be like, quit embarrassing yourself. Like you're making a fool of yourself in case nobody's told you. Right? Whereas at some of these other things, it's like they're waiting for you to be the fool so that they can sit around and laugh. You know what I mean? They're not ever going to sit there and say you're embarrassing yourself. They're not ever going to sit there and say that because they want that. That's the kind of blood they're after. Okay. So some of those people, yeah, you might be separating yourselves from that. And you're like, yeah, that's just not, you know what I mean? Because, that older energy, it's like realizing everybody makes mistakes, realizing nobody's perfect, right? Um, and kind of like this, public official that got arrested, which it sounds like it was kind of a sham arrest to begin with. Who knows? Maybe he did. Maybe somebody did slip. It's like, how do they even know? It's like, how did they even know he was in that parking lot? Like, was somebody following him to his car? You know what I mean? To then pounce on him to arrest him? Like, yeah, if I was his defense attorney, I would definitely be questioning. I would be all over that, questioning that. But I did not go to law school and I don't have a law degree. So, anyway, I'm sure somebody will be getting paid handsomely when they end up dropping that charge. It sounds so bogus. And it's like, okay, you have that versus, out in California, they're trying to, pass the Stop Nick Shirley Act to stop people from documenting crimes, literally. Like, there's a lot of that out there. And it, can sometimes seem discouraging, but guess what? There's a lot of people that don't feel that way. There's a lot of people, and I don't care what your persuasion is on the ballot. And I don't care if you voted for whoever or not. You know what I mean? For some people, right is right and wrong is wrong. And it will always be that way. And that's kind of how this come out here with the Justice and the Ace of Swords, the King of Swords. This Chariot card, I feel like it's like you have it in your gut what is right. And you're willing to follow through on that. This Knight of Wands, this Three of Swords, this Heartbreak Hotel, flighty, love you today, maybe not tomorrow type. Like it's childish and you're over, you're like, you might have children, right? You don't want to date a child. Like, that's where some of these people are like, oh, take care of me, take care of me. Yeah, because they see you got it together here at Empress card. But you're like, no, like I was assuming that like maybe you could take care of yourself and like we could meet in the middle. But that's why you have some of these people trying to pass these laws to like cover up this fraud and stuff because they are the enablers. They are the enablers, and it happens, at all levels, at all levels. So, don't be falling for the okey doke collective. You're obviously smarter than that. Is kind of the message I'm getting here. It's like, yeah, there might be people trying to make you question this and that, but at the end of the day, you're like, yeah, I know which way is up, and my feet are down on the ground. So, go scam the next guy because it ain't going to be me, right? It ain't going to be me. Like, you know, yeah, yeah. Um, so at the risk of beating 10 of swords, at the risk of beating a dead horse on this message. So that's really all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you have enjoyed your weekend so far if you're not just starting it, right? Okay, so take it easy, try and enjoy. Looks like there's some basketball coming on. I don't know. Are they in the playoffs now? That's what it says. Straight playoff appearance with. Okay, so I guess it is the playoffs. I wasn't really sure. You know what I mean? I don't bet on that kind of stuff, so I don't necessarily follow everything. And that's ironic. There's like a gambling thing number on the screen right now in case you do have an issue with that. So, anywho. But yeah, as we are all adults, take this message as it resonates for you. If it's not your message today, don't sweat it. But until next time, please do manifest wisely. Bye bye.